Coming up in today's newscast, Israelis remain on high alert in the Golan as Israeli defense forces continue into the third day of Operation Northern Shield. The state comptroller's office rejects Prime Minister Netanyahu's bid to get foreign funding for his legal defenses, and Tel Aviv Mayor Huldai inaugurates the first of many new additions to the city's cycling network. The IDF is now entering day 3 of Operation Northern Shield, and thankfully the calm is holding despite the high state of alert. The plan to find and destroy terror group Hezbollah's attack tunnels into Israel is far from over, as it's still projected to last at least several weeks to a month. The tunnels, which were revealed by the IDF earlier this week, lie below nearly 100 feet of limestone and are complex both in their design and reach. Destroying them is no simple task. Collapsing the tunnels, for example, could affect the land and even potentially communities above on both sides of the Blue Line. And the heavy rains now beginning to fall in the region also pose bumps in the road. Finally, aside from the physical issues with demolishing the tunnels, there's still the threat of war to consider. For now, Hezbollah has made it clear that it's watching closely the situation, but it's unlikely that they'll start hostilities as long as the operation stays in the Israeli Golan. Lebanon's Prime Minister Hariri also said that there was no reason for an escalation with Israel at this time. And then Russia, which has an ongoing presence and interest in the region, has also now called on cooler heads to prevail. The Russian Foreign Affairs Ministry said that Israel does have the right to protect itself and its borders, but that they hope, quote, the actions taking place will not violate UN Resolution 1701, end quote. That and that Russia expects UNIFIL to fulfill its mission. They further called on both sides to show restraint and responsibility, avoiding provocative actions and statements which could escalate tensions on the Israel-Lebanon border. So far, only legal escalations have occurred then, with Lebanon's Foreign Minister Basil saying he intends to submit an official complaint against Israel's operation with the United Nations Security Council. And Israel mounted similar threats regarding the existence of the tunnels in the first place. The Council of the European Union also approved today a declaration against anti-Semitism in Europe. The declaration, which passed unanimously with 28 votes, calls on all EU member countries to endorse Holocaust commemoration and education, adopt the Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism, and demands that more attention be paid to online anti-Semitism and terrorist activities. Paul Gross, a senior fellow at the Menachem Begin Heritage Center, joins us now via Skype with more. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just get into it. How measurable or noticeable do you think the results of these changes or this amendment resolution will be?
I mean, Europe's a big place, and it's going to vary from country to country. We also don't know the extent to which member states will adhere to these rules. It's interesting that the resolution includes a call to observe the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which of course includes
defamation, delegitimization, and
not delegitimizing Israel exactly, and not ascribing double standards to Israel, and that's something which, in particular, the left in Europe has been particularly guilty of.
Okay, so could the outcome of this? I'm sure that this could swing both ways, but do you think it's more likely that these EU member countries, at least their governments, try to adhere to this, at least on the surface, or do you think that this will actually even cause more division between Jews in the diaspora in EU countries and their neighbors?
There was a CNN poll recently which showed that there's some interesting views on Jews amongst Europe's citizens, including exaggerated views of Jewish influence on the world, and sort of it varies from country to country, but certainly some worrying trends. I think the situation that Jews find themselves in Europe is problematic. I think we need to be proportional about it and not sort of talk about the situation as though we're entering another 1930s scenario. On the other hand, there are certainly problems, and Jews face both traditional, we can say traditional European far-right anti-Semitism and an imported variety of anti-Semitism from the Arab world as well.
I see. All right. So, and then I guess finally, which countries do you think would be most likely then to adhere to these new guidelines, as opposed to the other countries that maybe just voted for this to be politically expedient?
Well, it was interesting that I think the country calling for it initially was Austria, which is interesting, not just because of the history,
Sure.
but also because Austria has within its government a coalition partner, the Freedom Party, which is a far right party, and the mainstream conservative government that from which the Chancellor comes. I think is very anxious to make sure that people don't see Austria as an anti-Semitic country. Germany, of course, not only has the history that we all know, but is traditionally takes anti-Semitism very seriously these days and fights anti-Semitism. And Jews in Germany are in an interesting situation. It's the largest, it's the most growing Jewish community in Europe, and yet also has problems with both the far right, the AfD party, and anti-Semitism from immigrants from the Arab world.
All right, well, so I guess you've posed a very interesting dichotomy. I'm sure it's going to be kind of a roller coaster to see exactly how this plays out. Paul Gross, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
The state comptroller's office on Wednesday has just denied Prime Minister Netanyahu's request to have his wealthy friends and family cover his legal fees in defending against the corruption investigations against him. Netanyahu's attorneys asked that United States tycoon Spencer Patrick and his cousin Nathan Milikowski pay his defense fees in all three cases in which police recommend indictments against the Prime Minister. But amongst the allegations are charges that Netanyahu accepted lavish gifts from billionaire friends. Thus, the committee said this request was inappropriate and stated, quote, the financing of legal outlays arising from a criminal investigation, which includes a suspicion of criminal acts in connection with various wealthy people, should not be done by wealthy people, end quote. The committee continued to say that allowing this would harm public trust in the government, and allowing permission to break the rules is just not justified or appropriate either. Additionally, the committee claims that in the initial request, they received no answer from Netanyahu's team on how much funding they wanted, for which cases, and how much was already contributed. Prime Minister Netanyahu is worth 42 million shekels, about $11 million already anyway, making him the fourth richest politician in Israel. But regardless, Netanyahu's defense has asked the committee to delay making its final decision public by 30 days. However, that request was rejected too. The Prime Minister is being investigated in cases 1,000, 2,000, and 4,000, and police recommend Netanyahu should be charged with bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, among other charges. The recommendations have also been submitted to the Attorney General's office already and await Avichai Mandelblitt's review. Mandelblit is expected to announce his findings in mid to late 2019. Major General Moshe Edrei officially withdrew his candidacy for police commissioner yesterday, days after he was rejected by a vetting committee and amid new reports raising questions about his conduct during the nomination process. Edrei, a retired police major general and the director general of the Public Security Ministry, was backed by Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan and was the only candidate up for the position. In a letter to Erdan on his decision to withdraw, however, Edrei wrote that there are, quote, many forces, end quote, who tried to prevent my candidacy for the post and to slander and speak ill of my good name and harm my family. The resignation also comes amid controversy over a standard polygraph test that Edrei was asked to pass as part of the vetting process. But reports surfaced that he had met with the woman who administered the test in the days before, insinuating that he had been coached on how to pass the lie detector exam. And while Edrei has vehemently denied this charge, the ongoing public process had taken its toll, and ultimately he decided to withdraw his candidacy anyway. Well, now an interim police chief has been appointed for 45 days so that the search for the permanent replacement can continue. In other news, an Israeli suspected of being a drug trafficker who was caught and escaped from custody was recaptured yesterday by Brazilian authorities in Sao Paulo. After being on the run for 3 days, Danny Trager is finally going to be extradited to Israel, and ILTV's Latin American correspondent, Joy Gavijon, is here with the details.
Hi, Aaron. So this is crazy. Danny Trager, an Israeli who is believed to be the head of an Israeli drug smuggling network, was recaptured on Wednesday. The 32-year-old man was sought by the Israeli justice for crimes of export, import, trade, and supply of dangerous drugs. He is also suspected of intending to recruit women from Paraguay, Bolivia, and Argentina to bring the drugs to Israel and basically use them as mules.
And so what happened? You know, how was he able to, and more importantly, how was he able to escape after he was caught the first time?
Yeah, well, that's the question that everyone is asking. So last Friday, Trager was first captured in Santa Cruz, Bolivia by the country's Special Anti-Narcotics Task Force, and then he was deported to Paraguay where he was detained. Now, according to a report, he was handed to the Israeli police at the airport in Paraguay, where he was supposed to get on a flight to Israel. But this never happened, and according to the Paraguayan news agency, an Israeli police official explained that he missed the connection flight in Brazil, so he was held in custody at a local hotel in Sao Paulo, waiting for another flight to Israel.
Only he managed to escape.
Right, yes. As crazy as it sounds, Trager somehow left his room, avoiding the guards, left the hotel, and then he was nowhere to be found. What exactly happened, no one really knows, but the Israeli police says that they had no authority in the South American country and that he escaped from the local authorities, not from them. Luckily, it didn't go for too long because he was arrested by the Brazilian police only 3 days after escaping.
I see. Well, it sounds like quite an expedition.
Yeah.
And we have to hope, that he actually gets to Israel now to be judged by an Israeli court.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your report, Joy.
Sure.
United States Democratic Congresswoman-elect Rashida Aiib, who is the first Palestinian-American ever elected to Congress, has now announced her support for the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel, as well as her plans to refuse the annual trip to Israel hosted by AIPAC, a trip that the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee offers to all freshman members of Congress for free. Instead, Tlaib will organize a competing delegation to what she calls Occupied Palestine. In an interview with The Intercept, the Michigan lawmaker said she hopes to, quote, draw on her roots in the region, end quote, to offer incoming congressmen an alternative perspective to AIPAC's version. She said her group will focus on issues like Israel's detention of Palestinian children, education, access to clean water, and poverty. And while it remains unclear who will join Tlaib on her trip, she stated that, quote, I want us to see the segregation and how this has really harmed us being able to achieve real peace in the region, end quote. In related news, 101 Jewish and pro-Israel organizations have now signed on to a letter sent Tuesday to some 250 United States college presidents and chancellors who have previously said that they reject boycotts of Israel. The letter was organized by the Amcha Initiative, an anti-Semitism campus monitor, and it calls on the university heads to revoice their opposition to international boycott efforts. This in light of recent attempts by individual faculty members on U.S. campuses to implement academic boycotts of their own against the Jewish state. 14% of American adults suffer from severe headaches and migraines, and what's worse is that there is no cure for migraines and over-the-counter pain relief medications don't always work. One Israeli startup that specializes in brain innovations has just developed an alternative to pills and surgery as a treatment for migraines. And ILTV's Doriel Mizrahi is here to tell us all about it. Doriel, thanks for coming in.
Hey, Aaron. Okay, so this company is called Neuro Relief. It's a wearable head device that helps with migraine pains.
All right, so how does that work exactly?
Okay, so there's a headset. And wait, let me take you back a bit. The way it works today, it's like there's a surgery or over-the-counter pills, like you said, and in the surgery, at the base of the skull, you put a pulse generator that sends charges to your brain, and that's how the migraines get
targeted
relieved.
electrical pulses to kind of trick your brain into
Exactly.
pain relief.
And then Neuro Relief said, like, let's do the same thing, but not in a surgical way. We'll also save so much money for people and also time. So they created this headset with 6 points on it, like here, and here.
Sure.
And it sends electrical pulses to the brain like that, and it relieves pain. So it's super cool.
That's incredible. All right, so tell me a little bit about how it differs, from other things on the market, maybe. And
okay, so it's first of all, it's like not a surgery. It's not pills. Like the CEO actually said how dangerous it is to take pills for migraines because it doesn't. One, in most cases, it doesn't help, and your brain gets used to it, and then it has no effect. So this, it's also portable. You could take it anywhere. It's not out in the market just yet, but super cool. It's not out in the market just yet, but they just did a study of it was 80% reduce in pain.
Wow.
Yeah, which is
80% reduction in pain with this device. Yeah. Wow, as opposed to a surgical option and things like that. Wow, so it's non-invasive.
Surgery
and
costs thousands of dollars, and this device is going to cost less than $500 even. So
and you can keep using it at home, obviously.
You can take it anywhere. It's super small. It's portable. You can connect it to your phone. There's an app. It connects to the cloud.
And you said that it's not in stores yet, but they are doing testing.
They're doing testing. There's one more test. They're right now looking for 60 people. So I would love for them to call me if they're watching this.
You also get migraines, don't you?
I get severe migraines, and honestly, this device sounds like heaven for me. So I'm just waiting for this.
Okay, so good luck to you to get into the test. Neuro Relief, if you're listening, Doriel Mizrahi is your girl, and good luck to Neuro Relief with this device. It seems amazing. Doriel, thank you for your report.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, now if you're looking for a great cause to support for the holidays, look no further. The Mikveh Israel boarding school and youth village in Israel is now running a crowdfunding campaign to fund a heritage trip to Ethiopia in which 20 young Ethiopian Israeli teens and their teachers will participate. Hamasal Ethiopia, or the Journey to Ethiopia fundraiser, is currently seeking 75,000 shekels, or around $20,000, to fund half of the program. And if achieved, the school will then donate the second half of the money. According to the fundraiser page on giveback.co.il, the trip will serve primarily as a heritage discovering and educational tool, explaining that many Ethiopians in Israel are already second-generation citizens but still suffer alienation from the community at large due to a language and cultural barrier. To make matters worse, these citizens are also isolated from their own families, if not even their own parents, as they left Africa at a very young age or were born in Israel to begin with. Therefore, they don't fully often identify with either their Israeli or Ethiopian roots. Finally, most Ethiopian Israelis still have family members in Ethiopia awaiting their own turns to immigrate as well. Family members these Israelis don't know of or at least have never met. So in response to these issues, the purpose of this program is to, quote, raise questions and answers related to the students' identities, to bridge cultural gaps within the community here in Israel, and help these students feel like they belong. Donors to the program will receive tokens of gratitude as well, ranging from thank you letters to personal tours of the community, depending on the amount. The campaign ends January 24th, 2019. Shopping online, and especially on mobile phones, has become one of the easiest and most widely used ways to purchase products. But Israeli startup SuperUp has now found a way to expand upon this market for the ultimate shopping experience. And SuperUp's Chief Strategy Officer, Adam Ita, is here to tell us all about it. Adam, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so tell me about SuperUp and how it works and what exactly it does.
So SuperUp is a mobile-first platform as a service for retailers. It's basically an e-commerce platform, hybrid with unique marketing capabilities that personalize the shopping journey for the consumer.
Okay, so you're working with consumers or you're working with the retailers?
So
primarily?
we are a B2B2C basically. So our customer is the retailer, and the retailer actually brings our product to his consumers.
So a little bit of both.
Yes.
And this is for any sort of sales, any sort of retail?
Yeah, so for instance, here you can see the grocery demo, for instance.
Sure.
But we also have a customized version for fashion, for cosmetics, for farm. Each and every shopping journey for these verticals kind of demand different adoptions because the journey is a bit different. Here you see groceries, which is the toughest customer journey in mobile.
Wow.
And you can definitely see how the platform works. Over here you can see kind of an in-store experience that you can do with the app, like scanning an item.
Wow. So it's not just online. I mean, it also kind of...
Yeah, it's a complete omni-channel experience for the consumers. Basically today, the consumer wants to find the retailer everywhere he goes. So you can use SuperUp whether you shop from your couch or whether you go in store. Today, consumers wants to get more product knowledge, and that's exactly what SuperUp does in a very personalized manner. We know how to surface product attributes for consumers based on their shopping habits and based on AI activity that we have on the back. So at the end, for the consumer, it's an app that he downloads through the App Store, but it's a much more broad platform.
And it's personalized. It's not like ad-driven, where it kind of says, hey, I think you might want this. It says, no, this is what you shop for, and so I'm going to give you more of that.
So basically, yes, we can use what's called cold data. So based on your shopping experience and things that you've bought in the past, we know what you'll be interested in this journey. But we also use hot data. That means that based on what you're looking at this point, we can actually surface to you better alternatives that make smarter product selections for you. So if the system recognizes that you prefer, as a shopper, products that has lower sugar attributes, the system with time, as you use it more and more, will know how to surface you product suggestions with products that are similar but has lower sugar amount.
Wow. All right, so what retailers are you already working with? And for future retailers who maybe want to partner with you, how do they do that?
So first of all, retailers that want to onboard with SuperUp, they cut the deal with us.
Sure. Just look up SuperUp, and
you look at SuperUp. But what we do basically is for a retailer, we deliver a fully customized platform. So it's their product catalog, their store.
Sure.
We are now live with Kruidvat. Easier to say if you're a Dutchman. It's the biggest health and beauty chain in the Netherlands. It's part of A.S. Watson Conglomerate, which is the biggest health and beauty operator in the world. And we're expecting to launch very soon in more countries in the world, including in Israel.
All right, well, I'm excited.
So are we.
Yeah, I mean, especially because here in Israel, online shopping is that's like the primary
It's
source
crazy.
really of sales.
It's crazy.
And retail here. All right, well, Adam, thank you so much for coming in. SuperUp, it looks amazing.
Thanks very much
you.
for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
All right, moving on. The city of Tel Aviv-Yafo has just opened up the first section of a planned 110-kilometer or 68-mile-long network of bike paths, which is set to run throughout the whole city. The recently inaugurated trail crosses the Hayakon Park area towards Ramat HaChayal in North Tel Aviv, but upon completion and with the help of already existing paths, it'll also connect the cities of Holon, Bat Yam, Ramat Gan, Bnei Brak, and Tel Aviv. According to a press release, the new paths will, quote, ease traffic congestion and allow the public to commute by bicycle on safe paths, end quote, which, considering the steady rise in traffic and bike-related accidents in the area, is so incredibly necessary. Still, there's a lot of work to be done, and it will take years before Tel Aviv is fully transformed into the cycling haven that Mayor Huldai and his partners hope to make. Just this first leg of the trail, named for Canadian philanthropist and financier Sylvan Adams, took $2 million and over a year of time to construct, and it crosses just 3.5 kilometers in length. Further, it's still unclear whether these new trails will solve some of the deeper issues at heart here or not. There are very few areas with dedicated and separated bike lanes as of today, and aside from the lack of existing lanes, those that do exist frequently start and stop in random places, cross the road for no reason in order to continue, and typically either share the sidewalk with pedestrians or a slim section on the side of the road with cars. Additionally, even after completion, there will have to be months, if not years, of effort spent on changing Israeli cycling and pedestrian habits. Cyclists frequently go in the wrong direction, like on Ibn Gvir, where the paths are one way, and both bikers and pedestrians too often are distracted by their phones or for some other reason and simply ignore the lane lines and cause dangerous situations. Simple text signs in Hebrew only are also cause for confusion for the tens of thousands of non-Hebrew speaking riders in the city. Only time will tell if Huldai's plan accounts for all of these issues. Now, if you're still looking for a way to celebrate this Hanukkah, perhaps unlimited wine for only 60 shekels or about $16 per person sounds like a very good idea. Well, starting this past weekend and ending December 22nd, Israeli wineries are offering a taste of their wares as part of the 20th annual Yehuda Regional Council Wine Festival. 33 wineries are participating, and in addition to the wineries, there will also be live concerts, tours, nature walks through the vineyards, culinary events, and more. And if that wasn't enough reason to celebrate, the Yehuda Regional Council has just been declared an official wine region, which gives them world recognition similar to Tuscany in Italy or Burgundy in France. Over the years, vintners have realized that the land is perfect for growing grapes, and the wine industry has since blossomed. But back to the festival, some wineries such as Seahorse, Kedma, Kerema, Ela Valley, Zafririm, and Gizot are all planning to launch new wines, and other favorites from wineries like Rama, Kela David, Nevo, Flam, and many, many more will also be available for guests at the festival. Finally, the Yehuda Regional Council will also start hosting tours every Friday, which will include visits to 3 select wineries and vineyards for just 100 shekels, or about $30 per ticket. And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Today is a very rainy and cloudy day in Israel, so we decided today's word should be anan, meaning cloud. Ananim, or clouds, aka floating sky blobs, form when water evaporates into the air and condenses within the atmosphere. And when the clouds, or ananim, get too heavy, they break up and fall back down to the ground as rain. That, my friends, is more or less the water cycle. But perhaps the most important thing you must look for in clouds or ananim is what shape they make. Depending on the answer, you can even sometimes predict the weather. For example, does the anan or cloud look like a lumpy face, a blobby duck, or a not-so-buoyant sailboat? Then maybe snow or rain is on the way. And if it looks like a long snake or a worm, then perhaps again, snow or rain is on its way. I don't know. And now, speaking of the weather, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be rainy and a bit cold with a low of 57 or 14 degrees Celsius. Then over the weekend, you can expect more rainstorms and very little change in temperatures. The high will be around 65 or 18 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.73 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Aaron Porras, and thank you for watching. Now, stay tuned for tonight's Hanukkah candle lighting. Tonight is the 5th of 8 nights of Hanukkah, so please join me now, if you know it, for the candle lighting. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner Chanukah. And Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim la'avotenu b'yamim hahem ובזמן הזה. Amen. Happy Hanukkah, everybody.